Finally, Jerry Jones just plunged. I'm talking about good old days. Oil field plunged. John Hamm, Billy Bob on Landman plunged. Finally, it's been so freaking long since Jerry Jones actually plunged in a draft, went high risk, high reward, plunged in free agency, high risk, high reward. He just plunged for George Pickens. It is highest risk, highest reward. I give Jerry Jones the highest marks for just trying here. Oh, man. But this is desperate. This is deliciously desperate. I'm going to give this trade a thumbs up. I'm Ron Burgundy. I can't quite go up because there's great news and there's bad news. Let's start with the great news. I couldn't draw up, I couldn't create, I couldn't go laboratory and design a receiver who better fills the bill for the Dallas Cowboys, who better plugs the gaping hole opposite CeeDee Lamb for the Dallas Cowboys than George Pickens at barely 24 years of age. George Pickens has proven to be, over 3 years, something that a lot of people didn't think he would be because he went 52nd overall in the draft down near the bottom of the second round. He did so because he ran just an okay 40, 4.47, so not blazing speed. He had issues at Georgia. He got suspended twice at Georgia, once for violating team rules and missed a half, once for getting in a fight with the kid from Georgia Tech and missed the first half of the SEC championship game against LSU. But even though he went 52nd overall, he has proven in 3 years to be the best deep receiver in pro football. That's exactly what we don't have opposite CD, who is he's turned into more of a possession receiver. He can get deep occasionally, but he mostly just beasts. I think he's the best receiver in football, the most productive receiver in football, because he will snatch it and he will run it down your throat. But more on mid-range routes than deep routes. He needs somebody to, the old cliche, take the top off the defense on the opposite side. Somebody that you have to honor and respect on the opposite side who can burn you deep. George Pickens just has a nose for the deep ball and for the end zone, and I love that about him. He's got the best deep ball skills in the league. You know what his skills remind me of? Travis Hunter skills. And I'm not exaggerating, embellishing. I'm not going over the edge, over the top here. George Pickens' skills, his ball skills, his see-ball, track ball, snatch ball out of the sky skills, they're Travis Hunter-like skills. They're circus catch skills. You want to talk about catch radius? This kid, man, he's got such mid-air gymnastic athletic ability. He can catch the deep ball, even though he doesn't have classic deep ball run-by-you speed. 50-50 balls, he's going to catch it deep. That's why over his 3 years, of any receiver who went over 2,000 yards over the last 3 years, and George Pickens has 2,841 yards total, he averaged 16.3 a catch for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were having all kinds of quarterback issues. Nobody great to get him the ball deep. 16.1 a catch led the NFL over the last 3 years. And in 2023, his middle year with the Steelers, George Pickens led the league with 18.1 per reception. That's sensational. That's, thank you, God. That's the kind of X-factor addition who can turn the Dallas Cowboys immediately into at least a threat to be a playoff team in a division that is loaded with playoff potential, because the Eagles are going to make the playoffs. The Washington Commanders I just might pick to win the whole thing this year because they're going to make the playoffs and they're going to be even better than they were last year with Jaden Daniels as the greatest rookie quarterback I've ever seen. I don't think he'll have a sophomore slump. I think they're going to be perfectly positioned as they got better in the draft and better in free agency. Obviously, Debo Tunsil, I could go on and on. So they're two locked playoff teams, and the Giants had a very good draft. I'm not the biggest Jackson Dart guy. Shedeur would have been my pick. But still, they just keep getting better and better, more and more loaded on defense. They're going to be a dark horse threat to make the playoffs. So this is not going to be easy. But if you give me George Pickens opposite CeeDee Lamb, I got a shot at doing some damage in the NFC beast, because it is the NFC beast. It's been leased some years, and we've stolen it or cakewalk to it, but not. Oof. We now have a chance to make the playoffs in the NFC beast. Now for the bad news. The great Mike Tomlin, I've said many times, one coach I'd like to play for in the NFL. If I could play in the NFL, I'd want to play for Mike Tomlin. He just said enough of George Pickens. Mike Tomlin said that. That should scare the holy hell out of you, Cowboy Nation. Mike Tomlin said, I've seen enough, heard enough, fought through enough with George Pickens. What was his quote of a month or so ago? Obviously, there's far more room for growth, is what he said of George Pickens. And he finally said, yeah, but it ain't going to happen here. He's going to have to grow someplace else. He'd been fined 10 times as a Pittsburgh Steeler. He got into it with Jordan Lewis in the game that the Cowboys won last year because Justin Fields was terrible on that Sunday night at Pittsburgh. Justin Fields can really run with the ball, but he's just not accurate enough. He's a battler, he's a baller, but he's just not accurate enough to be a winning franchise quarterback to me. I think the Jets blew it again. But the point was, in that game, George Pickens, I'm just going to tell you exactly who and what he is. He is a thin-skinned, hot-headed diva of a receiver. Almost every receiver I've ever dealt with in my many years knowing the National Football League has at least some diva, if not a whole lot of diva in him. They just do. It's the all-time diva position in the history of sports, even more so than any NBA position. But this kid is a problem waiting to happen. And he happened at Georgia, where he also tore his ACL, and at Pittsburgh, where he also had all kinds of little knick-knack injury issues, hamstrings to start with. All I can tell you is that I take